Welcome back to First Things First. We now welcome in our guy Chris Carter from Florida. CC, you called the longest game in NFL history. You're welcome to the NFL broadcast booth movement. How do you feel?
Well, it was a long day. I mean, you're at the stadium. I got to the stadium, I think, at 9:30 in the morning, and I think I got in the car last night at 8 o'clock. It's a great opportunity with Fox. I appreciate to be able to call game. It's probably the hardest skill, the most information, meeting with the coaches. It was exciting. It was exciting to be at an NFL stadium for game day. So it's an experience that I can say that I will cherish, something I've never done before.
Well, it was fun to watch.
You were great, brother. I'm glad to have you back, but you were really great.
Good stuff. Okay, turning to our big story this morning, CC, the comeback for the ages. Aaron Rodgers versus the Chicago Bears. Early scare for Rodgers as he had to be carted off the field in the second quarter with a leg injury. Came back with his team down 20 and showed the world what brilliant football looks like, throwing 3 second-half touchdown passes, all while still hobbled with that injured leg. Suffice to say, Packers went on to win the game. Rodgers spoke about his epic performance after the game.
This is what we're paid to do. You know, we're paid to deal with injuries and play through them. That's what everybody's doing and will be doing throughout this season. That's the measure of a teammate, is what are you willing to put on the line for your team. And to me, it's a no-brainer. Being out there is special. The ovation from the crowd lifts you up, gives you the energy, the momentum of the game, and you feel the tide turning is special. This is definitely go down as one of my favorite memories. Playing behind Brett Favre for 3 years, you realize you got to be tough to play this position. So you got to, in that situation, it's about coming back out and leading. And if you can do it and deal with the pain, you should be out there.
All right, see, we talked about this all morning. How remarkable did you think Aaron Rodgers' performance was last night? To do it the way he did it, and injured, no less, really being on one leg there.
Yeah, it's a tremendous credit to the profession. I think Aaron made some great points as far as what allows you to get to this point. Number one, I watched Brett Favre, and Brett Favre had far more significant injuries than Aaron had. So as a young football player, he learned the mental toughness that it plays the position. He was able to see it firsthand. I can guarantee you that Aaron, there were several times where he grabbed his helmet and he started warming up. When Brett was still the quarterback, he thought he was going to go in there, but Brett would continue on. And we hadn't seen a quarterback like Brett, and then we saw Peyton Manning, and then now we see Aaron Rodgers pull this off last night. It's also a credit to professional football players and how they go about their jobs. People always question that with guaranteed money, would NFL players change? Well, Aaron Rodgers last night, he made a statement. He's got $98 million guaranteed. There's no reason, besides him being a good teammate, him being just a baller and the overall mental toughness. That's the only thing that brings a person back onto the field. The first game of the season, you got $100 million guaranteed. So even if he goes to the house, his money's guaranteed. So for me, the overall mentality, and that's why I really push for guarantees in contracts. I don't believe it will change the game. I believe football players, their mentality is totally different than basketball and baseball. And Aaron Rodgers, he's an exceptional player from a talent standpoint. But I'm talking about the mentality. I'm not going to let my fans down. I'm not going to let my coaching staff down. I'm not going to let my teammates down. And that's what I saw last night. Not only one of the greatest talents we've ever seen, but these are the intangibles that we want to see in our great football players. And Aaron Rodgers just gave us a glimpse of why we call him the greatest player in the game today.
And I thought it was impressive that he mentioned Favre there, because it is instructive that he learned from the ultimate NFL Ironman, a guy that has what I believe to be one of the few truly unbreakable records in all of sports, with Favre's consecutive games game started streak at that position. Now, Rodgers obviously can't match that. I mean, he missed a half dozen games last year, but what he can do is show his team that even down 20-0 with 25 minutes left on one leg, I'm going to go out there because I think I give us a chance to win. And the moment he threw that pass to Geronimo Allison, and I don't know if there's another human being on the planet that on one leg, or maybe even on two, but certainly on one, can throw that pass with that precision, and hell of a play by Allison on the back end of it. I felt like the Packers were going to win. As long as the defense could get stops, I felt like the Packers were going to score every time Rodgers got the ball. He had 4 drives in the second half. They went field goal, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. He was 17 of 23 with 270 yards against a defense that in the first half had made him look bad and made Kaiser look, well, a lot like Deshaun Kaiser. And the Packers' inability to hold the fort without him was not surprising, but Rodgers coming on and instantly turning around what had been a bad game for him and an awful game for as a team, that is the stuff of legends, and it's to me, it's one of the more memorable primetime regular season games in recent memory in the NFL.
Yeah, he's truly one of the great players. I mean, he also the rivalry with the Bears. He talked about Brett Favre being tough, but he mentioned also the rivalry with the Bears. If you look at his career stat lines, man, he's played as good against the Bears as any team in the NFL. And just go back to the Packers been playing football for 100 years. Their number one rival is the Bears. Their number 2 rival, or 1A and 1AB, is the Vikings. So, you know, when you get in those divisional games, first game of the season, he also sent a message to the Bears, their young quarterback, Mitch Trubisky, all the excitement that they had around the Bears, to let them know that I'm still the king of the NFC North, and if you guys want to win it, it's going to have to do it through me. So I thought it was an amazing message to send by one of our great players.
Hey, Chris Canty mentioned earlier in the show how surprised he was that the Bears took their foot off the metal, basically, if you will, the accelerator in this second half, and almost let the Packers back in and got really comfortable with that lead, and then you saw what happened. How do you feel about what the Bears did in that second half?
Well, no insult to Chris Canty, but no one lets anybody back into an NFL game. What happens is it's hard to maintain a lead. It's hard to maintain that intensity. If you look at the play that Khalil Mack made, if you look at the overall celebration, people thought that the game was over. But I watched Khalil Mack as he went back on the sideline, and to me, when everyone got on top of him after he scored the touchdown, and then they barely got back to the sideline, I thought he was stumbling on the sideline. I thought he was a little bit dizzy. I didn't think the game would get close again, but I wanted to watch him how the game went on. And after that celebration, I don't think he made a significant play the rest of the game. So they didn't let him back in the game. When you have a lead in the National Football League, it's hard to maintain that lead. Defensive coordinators, Fangio, I don't know why he didn't stay more aggressive, because that was the recipe to being successful. So it's a combination of things, but momentum, playing there at Lambeau Field, one of the special environments to play. If you get a quarterback like Aaron who limps back onto the field and they start making big plays, once the momentum swings, then it's hard to stop it.
Well, and what occurred to me, you mentioned the Fangio part of it, and that I think that's a huge part of the story, that they had defensively a game plan early that they seemed to differ from late. And if there was ever a time to send pressure at Aaron Rodgers, it's when he's playing on one leg. It's when he clearly has limited mobility. What I saw from them offensively was, it reminded me a lot of the Jags-Patriots AFC Championship game, where once they got done with the scripted plays, because if you remember that game, the Jags were moving the football at will. But once they got done with the scripted plays, and it had to be more of in-game decision-making, either by the coordinator, the coach, the quarterback, they struggled. I thought Matt Nagy's game plan was excellent, but as soon as we got through the first quarter, the offense stalled entirely. And then at the end of the game, when you have a 3rd and 1 where a first down wins the game, you can take knees, and that's the time you take a shot to the end zone instead of running Jordan Howard, who had just run for 10 yards on 2nd down, and you don't even consider going for it on the 4th down, where once again a first down ends the game, and instead you're content kicking a field goal up only 6 and and putting the ball back in Aaron Rodgers' hands, those are things that this morning I think Chicago's looking at and saying, I wish we had done differently. I can't figure out Mac's lack of impact. You brought up the celebration. I didn't see that. That's interesting. I thought maybe it was about fitness from not being in training camp, that he was on something of a pitch count. But he had one tackle in the entire second half after being the dominating force of the game throughout the first half.
Anytime you have a short yardage game-winning situation, if the play doesn't work, you know what we do? We blame the offensive coordinator. Well, forget the offensive line. I guarantee you the play that they designed, it was a good play. So the play doesn't work, so let's blame the coordinator. Well, what about the running back a couple plays before that where he stepped out of bounds to stop the clock? As a young football team, the offensive coordinator is young, the quarterback is young, the head coach is young. You need to learn how to win football games. And that's what I saw in the end of this game. People always want to point fingers. This guy, that's a bad call. All the calls are good. If you don't execute, none of the calls are good. But you have to learn how to put games away. They had the opportunity. I thought they had a good game plan. Even when they had to have the drive moving down in the end, even though they didn't convert, but they ate up the time of possession there. They ate up a couple of their timeouts. They just need one more play to be able to get a victory. When you're a young football team and you've been losing for the last several years, you don't know those things. So that's what I saw come into play. A team that, how do I win a football game with a bunch of guys that haven't won games together?
All right, we want to make you feel real comfortable with the broadcast. We have 6 more hours left to go here on the show, so sit back, get comfortable. We're kidding. Coming up, Tom Brady's still getting it done at age 41. That's next on First Things First.